Welcome back, budding database admins. This is Professor Crow. We're going to continue our journey using Access 2016. So if you are a Simnet user, you can click on Library. Once you log into Simnet, go to the Access 2016 textbook. Of course, now it's going to be slow. Choose a section, choose Access 2016. And we want chapter 4. So the first thing we need to do is get our files. So let's click on our resources tab, go down to project data files. Here we go, zipped folder. And remember, you need to extract all of these to extract the file that you need. But for me, I just minimize, open it up, and then I'm going to get the things that I want. So we're going to do skill review 4-2. So I'm going to drag this over. So now it's saved. And I need the, what do I want? I forgot. I hate when that happens. We need the insurance plans database, so down here. And we need a text file, employee transfers. There we go. Now, on your text file, if you double click it to open and it comes up as a web page, just remember all you need to do is to do Control S, and that'll get you to save it to your desktop. So now we'll come back here, we'll go back to our chapter 4, scroll down to the instructions that we need for 4-2, and here they are. So what are we going to be doing in this project? We're going to be doing queries. Queries are when we shake the magic 8-ball and we ask it a question and we turn that 8-ball over and it answers our question. That's what a query is. So we're going to use two ways: a simple query wizard, then we're going to talk about how we add criteria, how we sometimes we don't want all the fields to show in our results, but we need those fields to help us. We can do this thing called a calculated field to add some math. We can use queries to look for unmatched data when things just don't line up right. Things that maybe we have a lab test but nobody's ordering it, so why do we have the lab test, right? We can also look for duplicates as well, and we can import data from other places so that we don't have to type it all in there, as well as linking it to another table. So I'll try using this split screen as much as possible so that you have the instructions in the event that you haven't downloaded them. So let's grab our database. Now remember, if you downloaded your database the normal way, you would, where it shows up down here in Chrome, you would need to do File Save As. But because the way I drug it over, I don't need to do that. So you'll notice that I'm going to look at my objects. So we have it listed by object type. So we have several tables: procedures, physicians, orders, and hospitals. And we have a query already here that's called physicians by hospitals. So I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so we can work side by side. Alright, so what do we want to do here? So we are going to do, use the query wizard to create a select query. That just means we're selecting the data that we want from the physicians table. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to go to Create, and if you notice on the Create tab, we have two different types of queries that we generally can run: Query Wizard and Query Design. Query Wizard opens a dialog box and it gives us some options what we want. In this case, we want to do a simple query wizard, which is right here on the top. Generally speaking, if you're doing a simple query, then this is an efficient way. If you're doing duplicates and unmatched, this is the only way to do that. Everything else in the world, you probably want to use query design. Alright, you get the warning light? Yeah, we know. We're going to say OK. Alright, so we're going to select our table. We want the physician's table. So drop down, choose the physician's table. These are all the fields. If we want to add all of them at one time, we hit the double arrow. Boom, they're all there. That is so easy that way. What else do we want? Scroll up here so you can see the whole list of fields. So we don't want the physician ID, so we're going to get rid of it. So single click, send it back. And that looks good. So now next, make sure we have the detail, because we want all the information back. It gives us a, what do we want to call it? So if we were doing this in query design, it would generically be called query 1. But because we're in Query Wizard, it tries to help us out with a name. So it tries to help us out with a name simply because it's using the physicians table, so that's why it's called Physicians Query. But we're going to change that to Physicians by, now you can see how terrible my typing is today, by zip code. Remember, no spaces in the name. Yeah, they've got a little capital there, but that doesn't matter, but we'll put it there to make it look pretty. And then we can, at this point, we could say finish, and then it would run our review, but we're going to go ahead and modify it. Anytime you have to click this modification button here, it's going to kick you over into query design, so you may as well have started there from the beginning. See what I mean? So, but for sake of instructions, we'll play along. Alright, now what do they want us to do? We're going to add criteria to the query. So what does that mean? That means we're going to limit our information. And this is what the query design is. So this is our table area up here at the top, and then this is our design area where we have it. So you see the field names going across, what table they came from. Sort, if I click on here, I could sort things alphabetically, A to Z or Z to A, numerically. If I have a little checkbox here in this show field, that means it's going to show up in the results. If I uncheck it, then that field or column will not show up for me. So we have that. Hold on one second here. Alright, we're rolling again here. Sorry about that. Alright, so we want to add some criteria to our query to limit it to physicians with a certain zip code. So we want to, so in our zip code, we have to find the zip code field. So I'm going to have to move over since I'm kind of using a short area here. So on my zip code field, I'm going to go in the criteria line, and I'm going to put the first zip code there. So 33176. Or, so if I want or, I have to drop down to that or line. Okay? I mean, I could type the word or, but that wouldn't be as much fun. So 33186 is our second criteria. Now, next they want us to sort it by last name in ascending order. So come back over to my last name field, click in that sort button, and ascending means A to Z, and let's run it. So what I should see here is a query that has everybody, all the results, their last name is alphabetical, so ACES, so that's good. And then I should have one of two zip codes, either 176 or 186. So that's perfect. So we can close it and save it. And then let's go on to our next one. Alright, this time we're going to create a query in design view. So that's the other option that we have. So query design. Now we have to choose the tables that we want. Alright, and we want the procedures table. So you could single click and say add, or you could just double click it and that will add it. Do I need any others? Nope. So close that, make it go away. And then the fields that we want are what? So they want all of the fields. So we can just double click them and drop them all in. And you see they go into the next spot here as we go. Except, let's see, procedure ID we don't want. So I have an extra field. All we need to do to get rid of that is if we come down here, and you notice my cursor will change to a down arrow. When it does, if I click once, make it black, then I can delete it. So we have procedure name, covered, and reimbursement amount. Alright. So under the covered, we want to put the word yes. So Y-E-S, tab out of it. I always use tab in my queries because if it needs quotation marks, it'll automatically put them there for me. Of course, if you're working in a simulation, then you have to type it yourself. Alright, what else do we want to do here? And under reimbursement amount, we want to put less than or equal to 40. Whoops. Nah. Sometimes I'm a little challenged on this. So, try it again. Less than, equal, less than, equal. I'm not using my regular computer, can you tell? Or 40. So what does this mean? So what we are looking for here, or we are looking for procedures that are covered and are less than or equal to $40. Now you notice we didn't put the $ in there. We don't do that. We just put the number in there. And under the covered field, they want us to uncheck this, but I want to go ahead and leave it checked for just a moment. So let's go ahead and run. So reason I leave it checked initially is because I want to confirm that I'm only getting results that I'm looking for. So if there was something in here that was unchecked, then that would tell me that my results are not correct. Same for this reimbursement amount. You'll notice, I'm going to widen my field up here. You'll notice that all of my numbers are indeed $40 or less. If I had something that was over 40, then I would have a problem. Now the reason that I do that is because I want to come back here and I want to be able to confirm. So I have to think about what my results are before I do this. So now I can uncheck my yes because I don't need that anymore. So now we're up to this thing called a calculated field. A calculated field is pretty straightforward. All we're doing is doing some math in our query. So what you want to do is, if you read here the instructions, you can type the whole thing in here, but we're going to do it as if we didn't have that. So click in the first available field. You'll notice we have this thing called Builder. If I click on Builder, it gives me a wonderful little area to do work from. So alright, sports fans, here we go. We are going to continue building our database. We're doing a calculated field. And of course, if you know a calculated field that you need, you can type it just directly into the field name. But for us, we're going to actually build it using Builder. So we clicked on our field, we chose the Builder, and now we have to go find the field that we want that's called reimbursement amount. So I know it is in my database. It's in a table, and it's in the procedures table. So now that it's shown up here in the middle, that's where I need it to be. So reimbursement amount, there it is, double click it. Then I can come up here and I can click and I can do times, and we're going to see if we multiply the reimbursement amount by a 7% increase. So to do that, if you remember, If I want to know what the new amount is, then I would have to multiply it by 1.07. But if I just wanted to see what the percentage of increase would be, then that would be multiplied. So we say OK. And I'm going to make this field a little bit bigger so you can see what it is. So right now it says EXPR1. And in the procedures table, the reimbursement amount times 1.07. Well, if I run this, it's going to say EXPR1. Well, that field name doesn't really tell me anything. So let's go back and change that. So I can go back, and if I click somewhere in that EXPR1, and I get rid of just that, so EXPR1, you'll notice there's a colon there. Don't mess with the colon. And now let's just type it. So let's say 7% increase. So now we've renamed our field. Let's run it again. And there it says 7% increase. So that's a real simple way of doing a calculated field. If we wanted to, some other things that we can do with this calculated field is if we want it to be currency format. If I, down here in the bottom of that field, if I right click and I go to properties, I can get to the property sheet. For that, I can come up here to format and choose currency. And then say OK. And let's run it again and see what it looks like. And now I have my dollar signs. So in this case, a prostate exam would go from $20 to $21.40. That's all it is. That's pretty easy, pretty straightforward, right? Let's see. Do we have a name for this query? Looks like we're going to add something else to our query here. We're going to add the order date field. So let's go ahead and add that. So let's go back to our query design and add order date. I don't have order date here though, do I? So I need to go get something else, don't I? I need to get another table. So show table and get our orders and say close. Now I have order date, and if I scroll over here, there's my order date. So let's run it, and now you can see the order date. So procedure name, the reimbursement amount, 7% increase of those items, and the last time that they were ordered. So we can close and save the query, and we're going to call it cheap covered procedures. And there we have it. Not too bad, right? Alright. Almost done. So we're going to do an unmatched query now. That's our next one up here. So to do unmatched, we're going to do create. And remember, that's under the query wizard. So unmatched. And when we have an unmatched, what we're looking for things in one table that aren't in another for whatever reason. In this case, we're going to look for a procedure that hasn't been ordered. So we're going to be comparing things in the procedures table and the orders table. Alright, so the first table we want is procedures. Next. And then what do we want? We want the orders table. Next. You'll see that the fields that I have in procedures and the fields that I have in orders, it brings those up automatically. So we want to make sure that they've matched procedure ID and procedure, because that's how they are linked, or that's their relationship. And if that's good, you notice here, matching field. So then we say next. And then what fields do we want? We want to go ahead and add all of our fields over. So that'll be fine. Next. Let's change the name to procedures not ordered. And we'll view the results. We'll say finish. So these are all the procedures that haven't been ordered. Now, if I was working in a hospital and I had all these things and they weren't being ordered, I would probably go talk to people that would order these types of things for, like, maybe the facial, the acne treatment, things of that, right? Who would I talk to for that? Probably the dermatology group. Fertility treatments, well, that could go a lot of places. Mammograms, prostates, those can be places. X-rays and CT scans, those are very expensive procedures because of the equipment that we would have to buy as our hospital. So when you look at that, it just makes it a little more interesting so we can see what we're doing or not doing. Now we can look and we can see if there are duplicates. So again, on our Create tab, Query Wizard, find duplicates. We say OK. And what do we have here? Where are we at? So we're going to find duplicates to find records in the orders table with the same values in the physician and order date fields. In other words, you have a hospital order that has too many, right? It's been on there too many times. So we want our orders table first, and then we want ordering physician and order date, and then we'll add the next two fields. Is that what I want to do? Order date, add all. Yep. Say next. We want to change the name, so we want to call it same date orders. Okay. Finish. And it's empty. Now, why is it empty? It would be empty if there are no duplicates. So think about what your results should be and how they would look, and know if you've done it right or not. So no duplicates here, so that's good. So now I can close it. It asked me to change the layout because I was making the fields bigger. Alright, we're going to do another query. It's called a parameter query. So it just makes us, sometimes we want to look up something and look at it and just get information on one subgroup. Okay, but instead of creating a query for each subgroup, we can create the parameter query where we enter that search term. So we're going to do query design, and we want the physicians, and close. I'll go ahead and stretch it out just so we have it. That little scrolly bar always bothers me. Alright, so we want first name, last name, city, and phone. Okay, so there are 4. Now, if I go in the criteria row under city, I can enter my parameter query here. So if I only want cities from West Palm Beach, or I only want cities from Miami, or physicians from that, that's what we'll do. So the way we do that is a square bracket, and then we type the information that becomes our prompt. So enter the city name. So this is the prompt that we'll get when we run it. So let's run it. Enter the city name. What if I type Miami? A-M-I. Here are all my doctors from Miami. If I go back to view and I run it again, and maybe I put West Palm Beach and run it. Now there are all my doctors from West Palm Beach. So you can see how that would be very powerful to do. Alright, we're going to call this one Physicians by City. If I can spell P-H-Y-S-C-I-A-N-S by City. Alright. So now we're going to do a couple things where we're importing data. we can import. Sometimes data is in an Excel spreadsheet or text file, or maybe it exists in another database. We can grab that data and bring it into our current database and either keep it there permanently or link it to that database. So that's the next two tasks that we're going to do here. So we're going to import data from the employee transfers tab delimited text file, and we're going to append the physician's form. So basically we're going to add a bunch of doctors. Alright, you have to keep this work area closed. So we're going to go to external data, and we're going to say new source data from a file, and it's a text file. And then where do we have it? If you remember, I put it on my desktop. So I just need to get to my desktop. There it is, my text file, and open it. Now, in our instructions we're going to append. So when we're importing this text file, we have three choices. We could create a brand new table, we could add the things in this text file to an existing table, or we could link the information. Well, for us, we're going to append, and we're going to put it in the physicians, and then we say OK. Say open. So what do we have here? We need to know that the information is delimited, right? Remember, this was what? It was a tab delimited. So I have delimited checked. I say next, and it recognizes that it's a tab. But it could have been a semicolon, a comma, or something else. And now you see how it is. Now, you also notice that what? I have field names up here. So physician ID, first name. So I want to make sure I put a check mark here, because otherwise it would create it as a record. And then I say next. Double check it's going to my physicians, and then finish. And I'm not going to save my steps. So we could go in here, and now we should have a few more records than we had before. We now have 38 records. So a few new ones. You can see the ones that don't have addresses, right? Or the ones that we brought in. Alright, the last thing we're going to do is we're going to import some tables here, but we're going to link them. Okay, so again, these are coming from a database. So new source from a database, an access database. Where is it? There's my insurance plans. And then here, I could import the information, or I could link it, but we want to do a link. Okay, let me say OK. And then we select the tables that we want. So we want the dental plan and the health plan. And we simply say OK. Now you'll notice I have two new tables up here. I have a dental plan and I have a health plan. You notice they have a little arrow next to them. That means that they're linked. And that's all there is to it. Well, I hope that you've learned something good with this, and that it wasn't too crazy for you. And I'll see you on the next video.